This is called Purest Heart, which was generously given to me by a friend to use as a sample. Hope you enjoy. It had been a while since he had used any of his senses. His sense of feel, hearing, and sight. Sleep robbed him of that. He couldn't feel anything. Not even the slightest disturbance of emotion came from his heart. Nor could he hear. Even if the walls collapsed, the sound would not reach him. The only possible way he could see was in his mind mentally, and nothing but darkness curtained all corners of his mind. After some time, he had forgotten what it was like before, when he was awake. He had also forgotten what brought him to this prison-like world. Now nothing else existed for him but that darkness. The small, subconscious voice that once always spoke to him became non-existent. Sleep robbed everything, took everything from him. A sound woke his mind, a soft yet faint sound. It entered his dormant ears and roused his consciousness. It steadily grew louder until his now awakened mind was fully absorbed with it. It sounded like crying, crying, the voice in the back of his mind exclaimed. Chills went down his spine, and he shuddered at the sound of his own voice. Another sense returned. He felt emotion. An unexpected current of grief flooded throughout his body for the owner of that cry. He had not felt such strong emotion for such a long time. However long it had been, he did not know. But the feeling gave birth to will, and he wished now he could open his eyes to see who the sound belonged to. He could not find the muscles that were specially created to unfold his eyelids, nor could he unearth his voice. He could only listen to the muffled cry that was now speaking words. I don't know what to do. It sounds like a young girl, but she doesn't sound familiar to me, he thought. How could I get so turned around? She now asked herself. She didn't say anything after that, and she calmed down after a while. A small question swarmed in his mind. I don't think she realizes I can hear her, but where? His thought came to a halt. Where was he? The air was warm. He knew that. Had he been in some accident that caused him to be in this state? Did he die, and his body taken to a tomb? But if he was in a tomb, who was this girl? Why did he now regain his consciousness at this opportune moment? So many questions I must find answers to, he thought to himself. Air rushed to his lungs suddenly. His chest rose high, stretching, and his mouth opened, which made him shudder like a baby would after crying. But the startling sound must not have alerted the girl. She was silent. Slowly and with some difficulty, he was now able to crack open his eyelids. They stung, and it forced him to bat them until it stopped. It was almost completely dark, as he expected. With small success, he moved his fingers and was able to feel a large piece of fabric placed above them. He guessed that he was placed comfortably on a bed within a rather large bedroom. For an hour it was quiet, or at least he thought it was an hour. He couldn't tell. Had he been sleeping for days, weeks, months, years? What happened to me? Why can't I get myself to move? He pondered in that until the overwhelming desire of sleep consumed him. He would find himself waking up at times, then falling helplessly into sleep once more. And when he woke for the 7th time, he assumed the sleeping spells seemed to vanish. I wonder when that girl will wake up. Is she still here? He forced his tense knuckles to look left. They aggravated from being in the same position for a long time. In the far corner of his eye, he could make the form of silky green curtains hanging over a tall window. A cherry wood table and 2 fine chairs stood on either side, but there was no girl beside him. It was dawn now. He could tell by the faint rays of sunlight seeping through the curtains. Strangely, all he could think about was the girl crying. Where is she gone? It sounded like he was lost. I need to find her. Maybe she can explain why I'm like this. Again, he forced his tense muscles to obey, and again they aggravated against his will. It was much more difficult than turning his head, which he could do now, but at least he was able to lean himself on his elbows. He grunted when he discovered he could go no further. All in due time, he told himself reassuringly.